Everybody, welcome back to the bar. It is your favorite doc tender, that girl Henny, and I'm about to pour up for y'all these Diddy docs in these hot shots for the afternoon. Now, I'm not going to be out here for too much longer, and I know a lot of y'all were looking for me this morning, but this morning I just really needed to dig in and do my due diligence and research what trending topic is going on. There are people talking about a missing phone that has now resurfaced. There has been another rapper implicated in a freak off. Okay, we're going to talk about all of this because baby, baby, baby. When I tell you that the beginning portion of this morning's court was more eventful than the actual testimony that Jane Doe was giving on cross-examination under Teny Geragos. Now, let me just say this. Y'all know that I am going to dig. If you guys start asking questions, I'm going to start digging and I'm going to find. So what I did do was I did do a little bit of digging, but there was a big uproar in the court that was going on today, this morning. Can you guys hear me really good? Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Please let me know if y'all can hear me. Henny Glasses in the chat if y'all can hear me crystal clear. If there's a little distortion, let me know if there's a little distortion. But get in here. Let the people know that the bar is open. Y'all share this up, okay? Share this up because the bar is open and we about to pour up, all right? Okay. Now, let me go ahead and let me pull out my notes so that I have my notes ready when we get ready to dig into all of this stuff that was going on. Baby, when I tell you that they had a robing room rumble and it lasted for almost an hour, that is an understatement, okay? Because it was a lot that was going on. No, we don't know all of the details. No, we weren't privy to that information because they were in the robing room. However, we may be privy to the information that was going on in the robing room in the transcript. So fingers crossed, pray to the document gods and the transcript gods and the God up above that I am able to get a copy of the transcript so that we can go over it. Also, what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start giving you little blurbs from all of the transcripts that I have collected. Thank you to the Most High because I have been able to secure the transcripts up till yesterday, okay? So we going to get into it. But first, let's talk about, y'all get them likes up. Let's talk about this phone that has been surfacing around everywhere. So you guys, let me go ahead and put this up on my background so you guys can see where we are going with this document, okay? Is this it? This is the document, but wait a minute. I don't know if this is the document. Okay, so this is the document. As you can see, the document is dated February 4th, which means that this is evidence yet again of how information is being put into the system. Oh my God, are you okay? The light almost fell on her. Oh, Lord. Anyway, this document is dated February 4th, which means that this is proof yet again that information that should have been uploaded to the case and should have been available a long time ago has not been made available to us. But as y'all know, in this document, they talk about how on September 16th of 2024, Diddy found out that after they raided his house, there was another phone that they did not take into their possession. They couldn't find it, right? Like, let me grab my other phone so that I can read some of this document for you. Some people have heard this in its entirety. Some people have not. So I cannot just assume that everybody has already been privy to the information. So if you've heard this already, just bear with me as I pull out my other phone. Didn't lose it in the cab today. As I pull out my other phone so that we can, well, maybe I might be able to see it from here. Okay, so it says that on September 16th of 2024, following the defendant's arrest. So this was after the arrest. It wasn't even after the raid. So pardon me for that misspeak right there. It says that law enforcement executed another search warrant for the hotel room, the defendant's way of the room that let me not even do that to myself. Anyway, they went and they did another search of the room that he was staying in. Okay, we're going to get into the document. I have my other phone up. Let me go ahead and let me pull open the email so that I can read this to you in its entirety. Pardon me, just bear with me for a second because I want to get this information out to you because I have something that I'm like poking around with when it comes to this. All right, so here we are. All right, and let's get into the doc. All right, it says that this was found by the filter team. Okay, so on March 25th, 2024, approximately 5 months prior to the defendant's arrest, law enforcement executed search warrants on, among other things, the defendant's Miami and Los Angeles residence, a private plane the defendant was traveling on, and the defendant's person. Okay, now it says in the notes that the filter team initially withheld the case team 2 messages in the text chain as potentially privileged. The defendant subsequently arrested privilege over additional parts of the chain, which the case team had relied upon, because the court privilege analysis will likely be informed not only by the messages seen by the case team, but also the messages withheld from the case team as potentially privileged. Now, what are they talking about? The reason why they're talking about this information being potentially privileged is because he's talking about his attorney. However, there is no information that is shared that is supposed to be like attorney-client privilege, meaning that he was not talking about anything that regarded legal advice, disclosing any information about his case or any of that in these text messages. Okay, so it says the search warrants authorized law enforcement to seize all electronic devices pursuant to the warrants. Okay, law enforcement seized dozens of devices, including all of the electronics found on the defendant's person and located in each residence. Thank you for the gift. On September 16th of 2024, following the defendant's arrest, law enforcement executed another search warrant for the hotel room the defendant was occupying, seizing all electronic devices in that room. Okay, including an iPhone 11. Following device 2's seizure, law enforcement extracted device 2 and consent with the government's practice in this case. Okay, they provided a copy of the extracted report to the filter team. The filter team conducted a thorough review of device 2 following the same protocol as it has applied in its review of all of the electronically stored data in this case. Surrogated material that may be subject to the claims of privilege, and provide the non-privileged portions of the extraction report to the case team. So basically what they're saying is they gave the case team, which would be the government, they gave them everything that was not privileged by attorney-client privilege. So there were some conversations in there that were between he and his attorneys. And of course, you know, those things cannot be used against him. They can't be brought up in court. They are privileged to confidentiality. So what they did was they extracted the information, separated the attorney-client privileged information, and gave everything else that was there. Okay. Device 2 contained a message chain between the defendant and staff 1, which included a string of text audio, and picture messages the defendant and staff 1 exchanged on June 23rd of 2024. Okay, approximately 3 months after the search of the defendant's residence. On June 23rd, 2024, at approximately 10:44 a.m., the defendant texts staff 1, "Call me back, it's important." Okay, good news, I think. A few minutes later, at approximately 10:47 a.m., the defendant sent staff 1 a voice note, an audio recording telling staff 1 that another member of his staff 2, had located a cell phone in his residence, and that the device contained information regarding a woman with whom the defendant had previously had a romantic relationship, female 1, during the charged conspiracy. Specifically, the defendant stated, hold on, you guys. Okay, specifically, the defendant stated, oh my God. I do not miss New York. Okay, specifically, the defendant stated in relevant part the following. I don't know how in the world, but all of a sudden this phone, device 1, just came up. We found in the house, and it's the time from when me and female 1 went to the thing. So they got to be so much stuff on the hard drive of the phone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to send you a picture of it so you can see and understand, like, this could be a big breakthrough, just because, like, we didn't have the phone, and this phone is just sitting there, and there's just data wise has to be a lot of shit on that phone. I didn't delete nothing out of the phone. I'm going to send you a pic right now. The defendant, who was residing in his Miami residence, sent staff one a photograph of device one, okay? And then they redacted the photo. So let me bring y'all up to date to where I am. I'm right here now. So this is the photo that he sent, but it has been redacted, so we can't see what the device looks like. And this is the page that I'm on. So it says approximately 6 hours later, around 5:27 p.m., the defendant sent a text message to staff one. Hey, are you okay? Just let me know that you're safe. 2 minutes later, at approximately 5:28 p.m., the defendant sent another text to staff one to have his lawyer, Teny Geragos, call him. I have a 911. Need Teny to call this phone ASAP, important. An hour and a half later, at approximately 7:08 p.m., the defendant again texts staff one, send me Teny's number. It's important. She needs to know. I can't play these games right now. I need to speak to my lawyer, and I don't have the number. Just send me the number, please. Like, I can't even understand why you're not sending my lawyer number, and I'm telling you I have something majorly important that I have to speak to my lawyer about. A minute later, at approximately 7:08 p.m., staff one responded by sending the defendant Ms. Geragos' number. The defendant responded with prayer emojis, okay? During a screening review of the June 23rd messages, the filter team identified 5:23 p.m. and 7:08 p.m. messages where the defendant references Ms. Geragos potentially privileged. The filter team then redacted those messages and released the remaining messages. Now, what does this all mean, Henny? What I'm going to say to you, I don't know if this is what it is, or if, maybe y'all tell me, because here's the thing. Where is it? I know I screenshot that today. I was screenshotting my little butt off. We're going to take a look at this. This is the transcript. And oh my God, that is a horrible, horrible piece of transcript that we're looking at right now. But on the 9th, which is Monday, was it Monday? Let me tell y'all when this day was so that I could be accurate. Monday, I was right. On Monday, right? Jane got on the stand and Jane testified to a phone. She had a conversation with KK. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I had to screenshot something really quickly for you guys because I want y'all to see this. Boom. This is the transcript from Monday, okay? And what we're going to focus on is this right here. There was a question that was asked of her by AUSA Comey. What do you remember from the conversation with KK? Jane, I remember that she was like, okay, I understand. Don't worry. Nothing is going to happen with these tapes. And I asked if she could please find and just put them somewhere else. If she could please find, does it say the phone? Yes. If she could please find the phone, and asked her if she could please find the phones and just put them somewhere where they weren't reachable. If she could just help me hide it. And she says, okay. Jane Doe testified on Monday about asking KK to hide a phone because Diddy was out here telling her that he was going to release their tape. And so she asked KK, can you find this phone and hide it for me? Now here we have Diddy in this message, in this letter that came into play back in February. Let me go back to the beginning of this. That came into play on February 4th about them finding a phone. I'm thinking this is the same phone that we're talking about because Diddy has already said that it's from the girl that he was dealing with when all of this was getting exposed. Jane is one of the females that he was dealing with during the time that all of the stuff with Cassie and everything was being exposed. She was there. She was there for the raid. She was there. She was dealing with him when the case hit. She was dealing with him when the lawsuit settled. She was there, and she testified to them having a phone that was specifically designated for them. Remember, you guys, I told you guys about that, how the phone was named Our Phone. Now we have the testimony that came from Monday and this letter resurfacing and people actually putting this out onto the internet. I seen it on TikTok and I was just like, I remember that letter. But I started thinking and I was like, but wait, didn't we hear about a phone being hidden by KK at the request of Jane? So now it dun dun dun. That's what it comes to. It's a dun 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 type of moment, because is this the phone? And if this is the phone that they actually picked up, then that means that we have the Our Phone in evidence already. So while you guys are asking me questions about it, this is what I have come up with. Now, I don't know. These are my theories. This is what I've come up with. And I believe that they are the same phone, you guys. Nikki says, I remember. Why would he say destroy the phone? Why wouldn't he say destroy the phone? I don't know, Nancy. I don't know why. Hold on 1 second. I'm not. I'm getting ready to go inside soon. That was Elizabeth Milner from Long Crime, you guys. Listen, all the real journalists are out here. Claudia just walked past me and was like, yes, honey, yes, we are breaking this stuff down. I am so loving the vibe out here. I'm so loving the vibe out here. But anyway, that is what I have found when it came down to that phone. Those are the dots that I connected. Now, does that mean that this is absolute, that this is the phone that they're talking about? That doesn't mean that it's the phone that they are necessarily talking about, but I found it rather odd that we had this phone that came up in evidence, like the letters that they were talking about that should have been out because it was typed up in February. But this was not actually sent out, and I didn't get it until Monday. So yeah, that's one of the things that the major press has been complaining about, is that things that should have been released already have never been released, and they're coming out slow. It's a lot of evidence that's coming out slow, and people aren't getting the news as quickly as they should, or when they should have. Like, this was old news that is now resurfacing, and to me it became relevant because I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, Jane said something. So now, who is starstruck? Girl, boy, whoever you are, obviously you don't know who I am because I've been out here reporting. I just broke some information for y'all. So either you're going to fall in line or you're going to fall out the line and be blocked from the bar, baby. Anyway, let's get into this hot court doc. All right. So, the government says that Jane had received her immunity back in 2024, right? So what they were trying to get into evidence was her notes. And this note that they were trying to get into evidence was sometime in 2024. Well, let me get over here. Let me say 12/20/2023. Because Diddy was trying to deny something. So let me get over here. Let me get my stuff right. Okay, yes. So December of 2023 is the note that we are talking about. Now, if you remember me telling you, Jane had a habit of using her notes to like filter out things and kind of like get all of her raw emotions and thoughts out. And then she would go back and she would edit that and send a text out. But sometimes she would send the whole thing. Sometimes she would only send like a quarter of it, or she would just send a piece of it, like piece it together and send it out. But this became like a digital diary for her, right? So what happened was the defense was trying to say that her immunity was the whole motivation behind her saying that Diddy never knew how she felt in the relationship and how she felt forced and how she felt obligated, that he never knew any of those things. But we heard testimony of her saying that over and over again, over and over again. Oh, okay, well then I apologize. About how She didn't like this. She even sent him a long text message, you guys. And we'll get into the text message later on this evening, because I do have the transcript. And one of the text messages, a lot of text messages that were read out loud, maybe even some of the explicit ones, honey. We might get into some of those just so that y'all can have the text message, all right? So she said this to him multiple times, all right? So the government is just like, all right, well, since y'all want to talk about this is what she okay, I didn't give y'all what Diddy was wearing. That's why I confused myself. Okay, so they're like, well, if you're trying to say that that's the motive behind her getting her immunity and changing her story up so that she wouldn't go to jail, well, we got proof that that's not actually accurate. We have proof that she said this way before she ever even met with the prosecution team or even knew about a federal investigation that was coming down. So they're trying to get that piece of a note. They just wanted a piece of a note in, because there is a note that was said where Diddy is telling her that he didn't know that that's how she felt. He didn't know that she felt obligated, that she resented it, and she grit her teeth and was bearing through it just all for the sake of him. He says he did not know, but Jane, in her note, actually, I'm hearing chanting, you guys. I'm hoping they're not coming this way. I'm sorry. I paused for a second because I'm hearing the chanting and people are out here protesting ICE, and I just don't want to be caught up in the midst of any of that. Okay. Um, so they feel like the defense was saying that Jane was feeling a way about Cassie's lawsuit and her settlement, that it was so quickly, and they were trying to say that, oh yeah, she was getting ready to go for a suit herself. Now I know that there was talks about when they were towards the end of their relationship that there was money and things that were put up, but we'll get to that in a moment. The judge deemed that this wasn't something that he felt could really be admitted into the court, but he was leaving the door open just in case. Let's see how this cross-examination goes, and we'll see if it's worthy of putting in, because the judge was saying himself, like, listen, yeah, chanting. They were chanting. I heard it sounded like chanting, like a group of people chanting. So I kind of like paused, because if they start coming down the street, I'm skedaddling. I'm not getting caught up in that stuff. Like, I'm all for protest, but you know, when it's protest, it's police and riot gear. We're watching things happen during these protests. People are getting hit for just walking. Like, I literally watched a video where people were walking and the officer that was on the horse just started hitting this guy with a stick. And he's walking. He wasn't even saying anything to the officer from what we saw in the clip. Okay. So I don't want any parts of that chaos that is going on. I'm not here for that. I'm not here to get arrested. I'm not here to get hurt. I'm not here for none of that. I'm just here to give y'all the content, get the content for myself, and have a good time. But anyway, so the judge was saying that they would wait for that, right? So now, as far as what Diddy had on, Diddy actually had on what he had on yesterday. And I'm not being funny. I'm not trying to play him or anything like that. But he has been ordered that he can only wear certain colors. So Diddy had on those colors again today. When Jane walked in, she had on a black pantsuit, and you know, the jacket, the blazer for the pantsuit, it kind of like cuts in a V. She had a peekaboo lace bra on that you could see the top of the lace on. So I don't know, like, girl, are you trying to entice him or are you feeling yourself? Which one is it? Let us know, because we want to know. But she was looking good, okay? Her hair was straight. It was cascaded down to the right side. That seems to be the way that she wears her hair. But I also know that that's how Cassie was wearing her hair. I'm gonna leave it alone, because there's things I want to say that I can't say. All right. But anyway, at one point when Diddy entered into the court, Diddy was waving. You know, he was doing like this to people, doing like this. He had shared a couple of words. He had even turned around at one point and showed somebody a book. And it was said that this book that he showed, he's actually reading it because it's teaching him how to help with his case. All right. His mom and his sons were not there at the beginning of court. But once Janice Combs entered into the courtroom, Diddy did turn around and acknowledge his mom, and she acknowledged him, and court started going. All right. So in the midst of all of this, right, the government was trying to show that Jane had wrote her statement before the immunity. The defense is saying it came after Cassie's lawsuit. So a lot of the confusion that they were talking about was, okay, you're trying to clear her of one motive, but now that opens the door for another motive. Because now they can say, well, she wrote this after Cassie's lawsuit and settlement, but before the immunity. So now her motives could have changed. You see what I'm saying? So it really didn't, to me, I would not have. Now, at 9:45 a.m., the defense and the government were called into the robing room by the judge. We were all sitting there like, what is going on? Now, the last time that they called for them to come into the robing room, it was an issue with Juror 6. And let me just tell you, I don't know what the outcome was for Juror 6, because in the beginning, the overflow room, there was no sound. And we were like complaining like we're missing out on something. So when we finally got the sound, we came in on them talking about the notes. So I'm not sure what happened with Juror 6, but they went into the robing room. Okay, and then at one point in time, Diddy was taken out of the courtroom, but he was only gone for like two minutes, because by 10:02, he left at 10 o'clock. By 2 minutes after 10, he was back in the courtroom, and he was like, I guess, sanitizing his hands. I have no idea. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. Somebody was calling the phone. All right, so I could be wrong, but there seemed to be a lot of whispering amongst the defense, and there were looks of concern. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to fluff it. Y'all know I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to give y'all what a TI is. And again, because I'm sitting in the over room, the camera is facing, I can see his facial expressions. I can see the facial expressions of his lawyers, even when they're facing forward. I can see it full on. And there were looks of concern, okay? Now, it was Teny Geragos, well, it was Shapiro and Agnifilo for the defense, and it was Comey and Johnson that went in for the prosecution. All right, so now the lawyers, they came out at 5 minutes after 10, okay? So they were in there for they were like 20 minutes in there, all right? The defense huddled around Diddy, and it looked like he didn't get good news. I don't know what the news was, but I know his face was strong. It was stern. It was very serious. He was talking. He was doing a lot of this, talking with his hands as he was talking to them. At one point in time, Agnifilo's face turned completely red. And I just remember I was noting that it was something huge. Now, the AUSAs, while all of this was going on and the defense is whispering and all of that, and it's like chaos on the defense side, the AUSAs, they were like typing away on their computer. They were like writing down notes. They weren't in a state of huff at all, okay? Now, at one point in time, Teny and Westmoreland, they were, I'm sorry. The courtroom was in a frenzy. This is at 10:10. Agnifilo, Shapiro, Comey, and Johnson all went back into the judge's chambers, into the robing room, okay? So now remember, they went in there at 9:45. They came out at 5 minutes after 10, and then they went back in there at 10 minutes after 10, and they're in the robing room all of this time. We don't know what's being said, you guys, okay? We don't know. In the meantime, Teny Geragos and Nicole Westmoreland, they were talking, but they were talking like this. And it like the camera is here, and they were talking like this to one another behind a binder. Like Teny kept putting the binder up, and they were talking. So you know when girls get to whispering, something going on. All right. Now they finally returned back out, okay? And when they came back out, I didn't document the time when the lawyers came back out. I only documented when the judge came. When they came out, Agnifilo seemed to be doing like a Heisman pose, and Diddy like smiled. Now, I don't know what that was, but the judge returned to the court at 10:40. So that's a whole hour that we lost with them dealing with whatever it was that they were dealing with in the robing room. So now Mark Agnifilo, he gets up there, and let me tell you something. He stutters really bad. He stutters, okay? And he's like, he wants to make a record of the objection to what was discussed in the robing room. And he's like, being that Diddy, he's like, my client wasn't privy to that information, so I just want to put it on the record. And he goes on to talking about people testifying underneath a pseudonym, and just the anonymous ways of people. The whole purpose, he says, of a public a public court, so that the public can come in here and the public can get the information, and so that the public can then, if they have additional information for anything that came out in the court, that they would be able to then reach out, and then they could get possible and potential new witnesses to come in as information gets developed. But the government was not trying to hear it, because if you remember when Mia, her pseudonym, when people came out and started like putting her personal information out there, it was the defense that went into court and said, hey, we found this information. It was sent to us. Somebody found it and they sent it to us. And so the government was just like, no, because just like with Mia, you're going to use the information of the identity of the person to harass them. And I'm starting to wonder, and it's just a wonder that I have. I don't have any proof of it, but it is a theory. I'm wondering if some way, somehow, this information is being leaked out on purpose. Because come on. I won't say that when it comes to Jane, with people trying to figure out who she was, that would be like something that they wouldn't do, because of course with the information that was given. But I also feel like too much information is given under testimony. Like, you're telling us, the content creators, the news outlets, you're telling all of us that are sitting in there, the citizens that are watching, all of that. You're telling us we can't reveal the identity of these people, but you have them testifying to things that will identify them right away. Okay. One of the examples of that, and then I'm going to go inside. I'm not going to really give too much. There's not really much to give as far as Jane's testimony and cross-examination with Teny Geragos. It was Groundhog Day. It was going back over the same thing over and over again. And it's like, I get it, Teny. You're trying to drive it into the jury's heads that this girl was consenting. This girl was a part of. This girl was okay with it. But she said so many times that she was not okay, that she was not comfortable with it. So, I mean, to me, it was just pointless, and you're not catching her in a lie. She's very stern on what it is that she testified to. There's been no trip up, no slip up, no blip, and no blunder. Now, one of the things that was testified to was the fact that towards the end of she and Diddy's relationship, Diddy was just like, I don't want you to be in this relationship feeling like that. So charge me. What is it going to cost me, for us to just move on and let go? How much is it going to cost? And so Jane was like $100,000. I don't know. She said a year or a month. I've got to go, check that out. But she was like $100,000 and my rent paid. And I want lost wages, like for my potential lost wages. I want all of that. But the fact of the matter is, she never filed a suit against Diddy at all. However, it makes you think about why he's still paying her rent and why he's paying for her lawyer, because maybe this was part of their separation. Now, I am also going to say that there was a portion in there where they started talking about the escort that was who she went to. All right. They had a couple of favorite escorts. Anton was one of them, right? So remember when we talked about she went to Vegas with a friend and they went to dinner, they went to a show, and then they went and they went to the rapper's hotel room. Okay, because it was a rapper and his girlfriend, and it was his girlfriend's birthday party. And they went to the hotel room, and she had already seen Anton. They greeted each other, fancy meeting you here, all of that stuff, right? Then they go up there and they go into, it was per year, thank you very much, and her rent paid. And it was more to it, Najee, but thank you so much for that. Yes, $100,000 per year plus her rent paid. And then it was also, she wanted the lost wages, like however it was her potential money that she could have earned while she was sitting around being Diddy's little sex worker. But anyway, back to Anton. So she had said that she went up to the hotel room and Anton was getting busy with a girl in a room full of people that were standing there watching. All right, so today it came out that this rapper is somebody who's at the top of their game at that time. It's somebody who has collabed with Diddy. It's a big industry person. Now, it was a lot of speculation that was going on inside of the courtroom as to who it could have been. Some people were thinking that it could have been T.I. Some people were thinking that it could have been Meek Mill. Some people were thinking that it could have been French Montana. Some people were thinking that it could have been Kanye. Now, I don't know. I didn't do any deep digging. I don't know if it would have been. I don't think it would have been. I don't know. Nobody said the Jig Man. I can say that. Nobody said the Jigga Man. All right. So When they started digging a little deeper into this, come to find out, this rapper was very close with Diddy. Okay. And so he says to Jane Doe, does she know anybody else that is in the life? And so she gives him Cabral's number because she thought Cabral was safe at that time. Because this was before Cabral tried to blackmail her. Okay. So she thought that he was safe, and she referenced Cabral to them. Now, Teny asked her, why would he do that? She said, I don't know. Maybe it was an energy that I was giving. No, girl, how about maybe Diddy was playing some of y'all freak tapes for them? Because if they were a part of the life, then they would have indulged in maybe a movie night. I don't know, but that's weird. You're not going to walk up to somebody unless you know that they're a part of what was going on, that they're a part of that lifestyle. And get this, because remember, Anton was one of their regulars. Anton was a regular to this rapper and his girlfriend. And there was a freak off party that was happening in the hotel room. And there was about 7-8 people that was standing around watching him lay pipe to this girl, whoever she was. And then the rapper leaned over to Jane and tells her that he's always thought she was beautiful and that he wanted to smash her. It was also revealed that during this party, Jane Doe flashed at the party. She said she did it because she was in the moment. It was the mood of everything. But she said she was only there for 20 minutes. She stayed to it, that she was only there for 20 minutes. She said that when she talked about it on direct with the government. And she said that when she talked about it on cross-examination with Teny for the past 3 days. She said that she was only there for 20 minutes. But that means she would have known Diddy told. So I don't think that's it. Jane is with the ish. She's not thinking that Diddy told. This girl was thinking that Diddy didn't do this with anybody else but her. She talked about how finding out that he was doing this with Cassie, how that was like gut-wrenching for her because she thought she was the only one. Listen, let me tell you something. While Jane Doe is very smart, she gives me very naive at the same time, okay? She gives me very naive at the same time. I'm not lying. That's how I feel. She gives me very naive, very gullible. That love makes her slow. That's what she gives me. She's slow for love. She loses her whole complete mind and she devotes everything to the person that she is with. So, hold on one second, you guys. Okay, I couldn't have that LL Cool J playing in the background while I was crossing the street. Couldn't have that. You good? It's hot as hell out here. Okay, I'm about to go back inside. Yeah, I went over in the cut and minded my business. It was the shade till it wasn't the shade anymore. I don't want to go back upstairs, but I am, you guys. For y'all, I will go back upstairs. But I'm just really feeling like it's just repetitive. It's like Pete and Repeat jumped off the boat. Oh, Pete and Repeat jumped off the boat. Who was left? Repeat. Pete and Repeat were left on the boat. Pete jumped off. Who was left? Repeat. Pete and Repeat were on the boat. Pete jumped off. Who was left? Repeat. That's what this day is. I don't want to hear no more. I don't want to go through these dates no more. I don't want to hear it no more. Can we please move on? Can we please talk about 2025? Can we talk about 2024? Can we talk about that? Because I am hearing about 2021, 22, 23. I'm tired. We need new information. But anyway, that was a brief little share for y'all. We'll be back after court, maybe a little later today, because I really want to give y'all. Sounds like the rapper that did the video in Morocco. Who was that? You can say. We're not under court order that we can't say if we figure out who the rapper is. They didn't tell us that. So we can kind of try to figure that out. Yeah, I know. They got to the fight, and I really don't want to hear no more. Like, Mama Flip, we've already heard all of this. I don't know if we're going to hear that. There's another agent that's supposed to be coming to testify, according to what I'm being told. But I don't know. I want to know what they found in the houses as well. We've heard about what they found. Well, they did tell us some of the stuff that was found in the houses. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Angela, specifically for you. What they found in the Miami home, they found lingerie, they found high heel shoes, they found firearms, they found illegal substances. That's what they found. Oh, y'all are gonna get Mama Combs coming back from lunch, y'all. But you said that. There y'all have. Hey, Miss Combs. Hey, Mama Combs. All right. Back to you. All right, so y'all got Mama Combs going in. And now I'm going to go take my tail in. But I will see y'all after court. We will do a full rundown of everything, okay? But anyway, y'all remember the vibe high so the bullshit don't stick. And I'll see y'all in the next video.